Just 1 month ago, Sword and Shield booster boxes launched to unprecedented heights, with Fusion Strike hitting $800 a box, Evolving Skies hitting $2,000, and even Silver Tempest hitting $350. A week ago, I made a video saying that the ETBs and Pokemon Center ETBs for these alt art sets would start to make up some ground on the booster box prices. And in the past 2 days, Sword and Shield Pokemon Center ETBs made their move. Today, we're going to cover every alt art Pokemon Center ETB and observe the growth in the market. So strap in, we're about to look at a lot of data. And the first Pokemon Center ETB we're going to start with is the one that I'm the biggest fan of, which is Astral Radiance. Right now, the market price on TCG Player is registering $115, but the past 6 sales, which were all on the 28th of May, were above $125. And right now, the current lowest listing for this ETB is $145 shipped. A week ago, I was saying how I felt that these were undervalued, and they were easily found for right around $100. Right now, they're really difficult to find under $125. Even at this price, I still think they're a solid deal, especially when we compare it to the other Pokemon Center ETB prices that we'll get into later this video. Also, to anyone who's thinking that maybe I manipulated the market with that video, my video was uploaded on the 21st of May and got most of its 3,000 views through the 23rd, and in that time, only 6 total sold on TCG Player. However, something must have happened on the 27th or 28th because 7 sold on the 27th and 24 sold on the 28th. Demand for these is at a high right now, and with a pretty much zero chance of a restock or reprint of these at this point, it looks like they'll continue to go higher. Next, we'll look at Brilliant Stars, which had 29 sales on the 28th and ranged from $130 to $170. The average was around $150 per purchase. There's a ton of demand for these, similar to Astral Radiance, and I feel as if there must be something I'm missing, like a big YouTuber made a video or they got promoted somewhere, because this is a big influx of demand, and it may be completely normal, but I'm a little suspicious that some big YouTuber made a video and a bunch of people went and bought it because of that. So if somebody actually knows what may have caused this, let me know down in the comments, because I've been looking and I just can't seem to find the catalyst for this demand. Either way, if a YouTuber promoted these or this demand is completely organic, I still think these Pokemon Center ETBs will continue to do really well in the future just because they're from the alt art sets, really well-loved Sword and Shield era sets, and they all have really cool and unique designs on them. Now let's move on to one of the big dogs of the era, Fusion Strike. This didn't see a massive spike in price like the other 2 boxes, but it has been consistently selling for at or above $250 on TCG Player. TCG Player puts market at $245, but the cheapest listing that isn't a damaged ETB is at $270 right now. These ETBs have been quietly moving up in the background while everyone freaks out about booster box pricing. I don't have a real prediction or projection for what price these ETBs will be at by the end of the year, but I think they'll continue to do well because Fusion Strike is a super well-loved set. This is one of the most unique looking ETBs we've ever gotten, and it stands out when you compare it to the regular ETB. But one thing to note with all of these boxes is that the market depth isn't that big. When we look at Scarlet and Violet era products, they have a lot of depth to their market. With these Pokemon Center ETBs, there's only a couple listings of each. And I think that's part of the reason why we're seeing such a dramatic uptick in price right now. Now moving on to the biggest of big dogs from the Sword and Shield era, we're going to talk about Evolving Skies. It's no surprise that the Evolving Skies Pokemon Center ETBs are the most expensive, but what is crazy is their price. There are very little sales on TCG Player right now, so the graph doesn't reflect what people are actually paying for them. The only recent sale we have was on May 23rd for $775. But eBay is showing similar prices where people are paying between $600 and $800 for a singular Pokemon Center ETB. This is crazy pricing, but I wouldn't be surprised if it continues to go higher as Evolving Skies just has hype into oblivion. And these will most likely be the first Pokemon Center ETBs to hit $1,000 a box. Next, we're going to move to Silver Tempest Pokemon Center ETBs, which are around $170 a month ago and have recently broken the $200 barrier. For those confused as to why these specific Pokemon Center ETBs are so expensive compared to other ones like Brilliant Stars and Astral Radiance, I believe that way less of these were printed comparatively, which we see reflected in the low amount of listings available for them and their price being significantly higher than these other sets, even though they have booster boxes that are more coveted in the community. I don't think this ETB is leading the charge in any way, but as the water level with Sword and Shield products rises, I think this ETB will continue to float upwards with it. And fun fact, this is actually one of the only Pokemon Center ETBs that I'm missing from my collection, and I need to pick it up at some point. And with demand seemingly going into Sword and Shield Pokemon Center ETBs, I need to look at picking one up in the near future. Anyways, the second to last ETB we're going to cover is Lost Origin. This ETB appears to have the most market depth out of all the Sword and Shield era products, as there are 27 listings with a bunch around $215 to $220. However, it also may have the highest demand, as tons of these are currently selling and it has tons of sales in the past. This is one of the ETBs that I've been a huge fan and proponent of investing in the past, and I bought a ton of these last summer while they were still in the Pokemon Center for $50 a box. I think it'll continue to perform, and I wouldn't be surprised if it and Fusion Strike hit $300 a box by the end of the year. But then again, I also wouldn't be surprised if they stagnate and they're stuck at like $250 to $280 a box either. Finally, we're going to look at Chilling Reigns Pokemon Center ETB. These haven't seen much growth in price, hovering around $160, but something interesting to note is that there are virtually no listings available for either version under $200 right now. This may change in the near future, but right now, if you wanted to buy one from TCG Player, you'd be paying around $230 for either version. That is excluding damaged boxes with like a tear in the shrink, as we see there's one listed for $140 right now. It's crazy that this ETB has this much demand and people are willing to pay this price for it, considering that it has two versions of Calyrex on the front, which aren't really well loved by most of the community. But hey, I'm not here to judge. Every Pokemon is someone's favorite. As I said in my previous video, we usually see with Sword and Shield products that the booster box moves first, it makes a big move, and then over time, the ETBs and the Pokemon Center ETBs catch up. I've seen it happen a couple of times, and it appears that history is repeating itself once again. Now, I just covered Pokemon Center ETBs in this video, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see ETBs for these sets creep to their all-time highs as well. Lost Origin is dangerously close to $100 in ETB, and I think both versions, the Pokemon Center and the regular version, will be collected for years to come because it has Giratina on the front. It's a great looking ETB. It definitely stands out on your wall or in your sealed collection. And that's personally why I invested and bought a bunch of these. But either way, it's going to be really interesting to see how this all turns out. Following up on my previous video, Pokemon products above MSRP are making big moves, and focusing only at products that are at MSRP and getting in GameStop lines and getting in the fights at GameStop or fights at Target to get products at MSRP is the opposite of what I enjoy in the Pokemon hobby. Sword and Shield era products are making big moves, and I'm glad I got in and made some big buys while they were still low. I'll leave it at that. I just wanted to report on some price movement that I've been seeing. It seems like no one else reports on the Sword and Shield Pokemon Center ETBs but me, apparently. Everyone's only focused on Scarlet and Violet Pokemon Center ETBs and the ETB promos, but honestly, I prefer the Sword and Shield niche, so I'm happy to see them move. Let me know down in the comments if you got in on these or you ignored them, and tell me your plans for Pokemon investing going forward. But that's all I got for today, so as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and stay safe out there.